Woo! We're live. I was still drinking my beer. Hello, everyone. Welcome to Hangoutlander. This is Hangoutlander episode. Well, I don't know what the episode of Hangoutlander it is, but it's about Outlander episode 302, Surrender. Hello and welcome. We are That's Normal, and we're here to chat with you about everything that happened in Outlander episode 302 and stuff that might happen in future episodes of Outlander. I'm Beth. I'm having this grapefruit shandy. It's delicious. And I'm having some popcorn. And I'm a little out of breath because I had to run all the way upstairs to get my charger just a second ago. This is the Ticonderoga pencil. They're the best. And everybody else say hello. Julie, say hi.
Hi, I'm Julie. I'm drinking margarita. Once again, don't forget, tweet us with the hashtag Hangoutlander.
Yes, please do. Say hi, Amy.
Hi, I'm Amy. I don't normally sound like this. I'm getting a bug or something. So I'm drinking Polar Seltzer because I plan on drinking NyQuil as soon as we're done with this Hangoutlander.
Oh, I hope you feel better.
Thank you. Send drugs.
I'd love to. I might later.
What would Claire give me right now? What's the herb?
Witch hazel? I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. I have no idea. I guess just like tea.
Willow bark tea.
Yeah.
Probably.
That's for pain, I think. I don't know.
Whiskey.
Well, first she would taste your urine and then she'd figure it out.
Yes.
So
there's no other way to figure out what somebody has.
Mm-hmm.
Just intuitively know that their urine is going to be sugary and just go for it.
Yeah.
If you're following with us online, if you're on the live chat on YouTube, we're not really looking at that. So don't talk to us there. Get on Twitter and use the hashtag Hangoutlander, and we will kind of follow that feed a little bit better than we will anything else. And if you're watching us live, at the end of the show, we will give a lucky viewer who's used that hashtag this evening and talked to us a little Outlander swag prize. Not sure what it is, but you're not here for the prize. You don't care about that. So it doesn't really matter. You're going to get something cool in the mail with a cool little note from us. And that's all the thing that you need to know. It might be the Outlander Destiny dice game because I have one of those and I don't even know what the hell it is. And I really want to get it out of my house because I do not like clutter.
Is that like a sex game, like sniff an oxter kind of? Or
what if it is? I didn't open it. It's shrink wrapped. It's called Destiny Dice. It could be like a sex game.
Outlander sex game.
Like one dice has like body parts and the other one has like
Jamie's Dirk.
Finger, that.
Foreign.
Lick, that. Do it like a hedgehog.
In the cave.
Yeah.
One of the questions is, how do horses really do it? So
that would be terrible if that's what that game really is. But at the same time, I can't imagine what Outlander Destiny Dice is anyway. There's no, I mean, I play games, board games regularly. I just bought the new game. It's not new, Ticket to Ride, to play with my family. It's about making trains across the United States. And it's dorky as hell. But I still can't imagine what Outlander Destiny Dice is. If you've played Outlander Destiny Dice and you know what it is, tweet us at Hangoutlander and tell us what the rules are.
Are we going to have an extended like Hangoutlander after we go off the air, but where people can still listen to us once we talk about this train game? Because I need to know more, but not right now.
I will tell you it all. I'll tell you all.
Oh, God. Yay!
We'll go live on Instagram afterwards, and I'll give you everything I know about Ticket to Ride. Ticket to Ride sounds like a great game. So our one-sentence summary of episode 302, we're going to tell you what we think those are in just a second. And before we do, if you're listening on the podcast, then you're listening to two episodes because we have not done the podcast for episode 301. Both this episode and last week's will be available this week. So if you're a podcast listener, sorry that we were late. If you're watching this live and you want to listen on the podcast again, like later on, you didn't hear 301 or you didn't watch it and you want to just listen, it'll be up later this week with this one. So be patient. It's not like we have podcast sponsors and Patreons paying for our shit. Okay, we're just out here doing it for the goodness of our hearts because we love you, and we like to get drunk on the internet and make fools of ourselves. So, and my bangs are growing out. It's all bad. Everything tonight is terrible. Amy is sick. There's only 3 of us, and I like there to be at least 4. My hair needs to be cut. If my hair is bothering y'all, because it's bothering me, go back and look at season 1 Hangoutlanders because my hair always looked great. And just know that I'm going to cut it soon and it'll look good again. Thanks, guys. All right, let's get into this. 1 sentence summary. I don't really have one for this episode, except that I really think Mary McNab is the MVP of episode 302. Let's pour one out for Mary McNab.
I agree. Mary. There's something about Mary.
She was great. Even though she has slopey shoulders. It's okay.
That's
fine.
Feel
bad for her.
That's fine. You know what? She's my mole sister, as somebody who also has a mole. Like,
did she have moles?
She had one like right here. I was like, oh, honey.
That's right.
That's okay though, because she did a great job. I guess my 1 sentence summary is I'm going to do the Sam Hewen for the first 15 minutes. And it was just this. That was it. And he was great. I think Sam was great in this episode, but his grunts have become even better this season.
Silent Sam.
Silent Sam.
What's that movie where the guy is Billy Bob Thornton is like,
Sling Blade.
Sling Blade Sam. Say that 3 times fast.
Sling Blade Slam. I can't at all.
Don't do it. Don't do it. No, don't do it. No. He was.
Do you have a 1 sentence, Amy?
I have like a 1 word, like same. And that's because like I could really relate to, as a divorced lady, kind of being in a marriage, not to TMI, but I just really could relate to so much in this episode. And I felt really bad for Claire.
Mm-hmm.
Did you feel bad for Frank?
See, I normally should, but I don't like Frank or the actor who plays him. So I find it very hard to give a shit about Frank's feelings at all, ever. I don't like Tobias Menzies or his face. And I'm sorry, because you can't help that, Toby.
You really don't like Tobias?
I don't, and that was why I was hoping to meet him at the Outlander premiere, because you were like, "Oh, you'll change your mind if you meet him face to face." Like I feel like kind of it ruins the whole. It doesn't ruin the whole storyline for me, but it just makes me totally Team Claire. So when people are like, "Oh, I'm Team Frank," I'm like, "You're high." So
well,
I don't think any. Go ahead, Julie.
I was going to say, Amy, I think your cold medications just kicked in. I think that, no, I'm joking. You have the right to your opinion. That's good.
I think that nobody in their when they read the book comes out of it Team Frank.
Mm-mm.
He's not as sympathetic.
No.
I mean, in hindsight, if you sit and wallow and think about his circumstances, come out with like a whoop Frank, but no, that nobody comes out with that. The reason you feel sympathetic, anybody feels sympathetic towards Frank when watching the show, is A, because Tobias Menzies does a really great job, and B, because they've made him more sympathetic. Probably because there's too many male writers on this show, but they've made him a whole lot more sympathetic than the way he is in the books. So
right, and in the books, you're totally from her point of view, and you kind of, what that's like from her point of view, or just from experience, to be with somebody that you don't want to be with, and they're judging every single thing that you do, how you look at them, how you touch them, the way you say anything, and it's like you're always walking on eggshells.
Right.
Oh, yes.
And I really felt for that in this episode.
And it's like what we said last week, is the fact that Claire is still getting over losing Jamie, and Tobias, Frank wants her to immediately forget him, to forget the love she had for him, to forget the life she had with him, to forget everything, and simply be with him. And that's, the sense when she closes her eyes, she can't open her eyes because that's not the man she wants. The man she wants is gone. So you know, I did feel for Frank. I will say this, but I did feel for Claire too. So there's that.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to like really, really side with Amy's thoughts about what it's like when somebody is watching your every move when you're in a relationship and they're judging it based on their assumption about what you're thinking and feeling and not necessarily what you're actually doing and saying. I think that's what Claire's doing. She's walking on eggshells simply because Frank is judging her based on what he thinks she's thinking about and what he thinks she's doing and what he thinks that she's focused on. And it's an unfair way to live your life. To have to constantly be like, did I say that I was sitting around thinking about Jamie and that I hate you? No, I'm pleasantly like involved in our life and having a conversation with you. And I've been totally pleasant to you. And so it's not fair for you to put that on me right now. I fully am on that camp, in that camp.
Also, it's just have sex with her. Jeez, like she's right there. She wants to do it. You're on a rug in front of a fire. Just do it. Just be like, all right, keep your eyes closed. Give me one more minute. We're good. You know, like
I mean, everyone orgasms in a different way, but I've never been like, oh, I want to come while I stare into your beautiful eyes. Like that's not how it works.
No, a lot of I tightly closed eyes is usually a necessity.
Like, and when they say open them, it's like
all
sneezing.
stimulus. Like I just need to focus on one thing, and I can do that if I can see like that the curtain is messed up over here. So I'm just good, real tight.
It's like sneezing. You don't want to sneeze with your eyes open. It's just that sensation. It's just a natural sensation. It's like a chew or oh, you know.
Well, it's that, you know, the myth that your eyeballs will fly out, you know.
Yeah, nobody wants their eyeballs. Nobody wants their eyeballs to fly out in the middle of orgasm. So, geez, Frank, let the woman close her eyes, finish your job, then maybe have the discussion. Like, hey, I noticed you've been closing your eyes lately. What's going on? And she can be like, allergies. I don't know.
Yeah, and since we're hopping into Claire and Frank, we were going to talk about that later, but we've been talking about it, so let's just do it.
Let's do it.
I honestly think that the stopping in front of the fire is such a shitty thing for him to do because they're in medias res, like you're in the middle of it, like let it happen and just keep on going. So you suck for that. But also she went through this whole night, like they invited the neighbors over and they had wine and she made some kind of crazy ass dessert that he likes. And then she pours him a scotch in front of the fire and she does this cute little dance to take her silky drawers off and puts her butt out to him. And then, I mean, she's doing this whole seduction routine after being like Little Miss Homemaker. If all you really want is just to get laid and think about your ex while you're getting laid, you don't bother with that. You just do it in the dark at 3 a.m. Like you just push your butt up against him at 3 a.m. and you're like, yeah, put it in me. Like you don't bother with the whole rigmarole if there isn't actual feelings for the person who's going to do it. I don't think that Frank, I mean, she does do it kind of in the dark in the middle of the night the first time and it's fine. And I don't think that Frank needs all of that, like seducing to get in the mood. So the fact that he stopped her at that moment is it's almost like it's even shittier of him. Like if he'd stopped her in the middle of the night, just in the bed, I could kind of see it. But after all of the trappings of romance, like, it's not fair. It's not a fair thing to do. And
no, not at all. Not at all. Especially when she said, I miss my husband. He could have, and that's what I wrote about in my recap. I was very like, oh, at first I was like, oh, she misses her husband, Jamie. But I'm like, oh, wait, no, if I was Frank, I'd be like, which one? That's where to stop her and be like, Claire, we got to talk about this.
Yeah.
Not in the middle of that. And by the way, that scene in front of the fire, the way she like pulled up her skirt, took everything down. It reminded me so much of that first scene in Castle Leoch where they go and they visit. Yes. And she pulls, you know, he realizes she's not wearing anything and she took control. And so for me, it was like she was trying to relive that moment. Like we are sexual. You and we have this sexual chemistry. And for him to just open and then he called her baby. And I was like, okay, open your eyes, baby. I was like, just let her, just finish your job. And then maybe the next morning talk about it over coffee.
Yeah. It's very selfish of Frank.
This is where the progression of time also is kind of screwy. And I didn't really think about it so much while I was watching the episode, but since, you know, it's our job to overthink Outlander and then talk about it on Hangoutlander. Like, you know, Jamie's time progression is however long it is, but we don't really know how long has it been? How many times are we supposed to assume that Frank and Claire have only done it the one time before? Are we supposed to believe that this is many months? Like, is Frank just holding in this feeling again? Like, Claire can never relax. He's never ever going to let it go. He's just waiting for the moment for them to do it, for him to bring it up. And that's why I don't like Frank.
Yeah, I mean, the timeline is wonky, right? Because at the beginning of this episode, Bree is like a 3-month-old, a chunky ass 3-month-old too. Like, that baby is thick. Nothing wrong with thick babies.
Nothing wrong, but I thought
I love a thick baby. I had a thick baby, thick as can be, gorgeous. Anyway, but she's about 3 months old, and then you don't see. I mean, you do see her again at the end when she's wearing that ridiculous elf hat. What is Bree even? What is Claire putting on this baby? It looked like she was an extra from the Will Ferrell movie. It had a yellow pom-pom on it.
I bet that stupid neighbor lady, whose name I don't remember and don't probably gave it to her.
Yeah.
I thought she looked like something from Whoville. I was like, oh, pretty
ridiculous.
Bree.
And then
she's going to save Christmas.
Her hair was so red under there. But Claire had on a green knitted hat, and then Bree had on this yellow knitted cap. And then together they make doo-doo brown knitted caps, which is what Jamie was wearing. So all the Frasers are wearing hideous diarrhea colored knitted caps in this episode.
And the fact that they focused at that last scene, like where the cap goes into the dirt, I was like, we got it. Dunbonnet's done. So
the Dunbonnet is over. But yeah, the timelines are wonky. I mean, Claire has been gone for a year. Or has been back for a year. And then Jamie has been there for 6 to 7 years since Flodden. And so they're not parallel at this point, obviously. And then of course we don't really, it doesn't say specifically, I don't think, when she goes to medical school. I think it was 52. No, I'm thinking it said 1752. That's what I'm thinking.
Yeah.
So I don't know exactly what year she goes to medical school, but I think it's all within a year or two. Right. Anyway, she just hasn't gone on that long. And now, as far as the timeline goes with how much sex they're having, I don't think that we're meant to think that they only have sex twice. The first time's in the middle of the night, and then the second time he's like, fuck this. This isn't working for me. I think that the little sly looks that they're giving each other over dinner and things like that is meant to show a little bit of a progression of time from the first time to where they are that night. And that things have kind of maybe tapered off. Maybe they've gotten in a groove or whatever. And then this is maybe the first time she's actually tried to seduce him like that beyond outside their bedroom. And he's like, no, this isn't going to work anymore.
Well, we saw it in that first episode. He touches her, she flinches, you know, there's those moments. And
yeah, but they've moved past that now in this episode. So they're not at that place anymore. Now they're at a place where they can share looks and they have a physical intimacy, and she can express what she needs. And I guess the difference is that she's expressing what she needs, which is basically just physical, and he doesn't really get the expression of what he needs, which is physical and emotional. And that's what he's like putting a stop to and saying, I need both at the same time. And she's not into that. But I also think it's not super realistic on his part. If he's very, very dedicated to raising Bree and very dedicated to being married to her, I think he'd be kind of chill with like a wife who's still hot for it, even if she's not totally into being in love with him. I don't think that the character Frank is sensitive enough to give a shit whether or not she's fully with him emotionally every time they have sex.
Absolutely. No, I agree. Yeah, I agree with that. I feel like one, Frank is still a guy, and a guy or a woman's going, you know what, let's just go have sex. The guy's like all in, not, well, can we discuss our emotions first? And then I'm all in, but I want your emotions first. And so I felt like that's why I was just like, just finish the job, have the discussion later. You know, just make each other happy. And you're right. She, you know, it's this sense of I agree. I think book Frank would be very happy with TV Claire. Does that make sense? Like, let's have sex. Let's do this. Because in the books, I remember this very clearly. Does she ever initiate sex with Frank in the books?
I only remember the one scene between them.
Yeah, that's it.
When she comes back.
So for me,
the breast milk scene, right?
The breast milk scene. Yeah, that's it. And really, it's Frank who initiates that. He's the one who, helps her milk flow again. So I found that I agree, Beth. I feel like this Frank would have been a little more like, all right, if this is what I can get from you, this is what I'm going to get from you.
I don't even think he would have noticed. I mean, it just seems to me like, I feel like Heidi just said, she's Team Frank at the fire scene because he's already raising another man's kid. He's been forgiving. She chose to stay. Fantasizing about another guy is mean. I'm not saying that fantasizing about Jamie isn't shitty of Claire. I mean, kind of is. It is. It is. You're married to somebody else. Like, it is. But I also think that Frank is living in a very selfish place to require more of her than she's capable of. I mean, when you're married, you make concessions for somebody else's emotional depth. You make concessions for somebody else's love language. There's like all these different things that maybe you really, really like need them to bring you flowers once a month and they just like can't figure it out and do it. You know what I mean? Like there's just things that you make concessions for when love isn't perfect and wonderful and Jamie and Claire. So I don't know. I feel like he could have continued, or they could have had a physical relationship that maybe wasn't like fireworks, but it doesn't seem like it was fireworks before either. I don't know.
No. Jess273 asks, was Claire just fantasizing in the beginning? So I'm going to assume you mean the first dream, because she does actually wake up from the dream and then the images. So the images are so clear in her mind. And then she asks, she was masturbating, right?
Yeah.
That's what I thought.
Her hand was, she's clutching the pillow, her hand's down there. Her hand, by the way, was the hand with the Jamie ring on it.
Well, she always makes those wheezy noises when it's sexual. Like that's her sex acting. So she was definitely making those wheezy noise.
I every time I watched this episode, my assumption was not that she was asleep and dreaming. Her leg is out of the covers. She's making the noises continuously. Like, I know that there are scenes that Diana wrote in the book where, especially when she's back at the manse, at the Wakefield manse, she has this dream about Jamie, like she could feel him on her and she wakes up from it. But what I saw from that scene is that she was just flicking her bean. I mean, that's what I thought. I thought she was just masturbating next to Frank. Not that she was dreaming and woke up. There wasn't any like kind of, I'm waking up coming kind of look on her face. To me, it was like just a gradual, she was herself.
She was coming down from her high. And then that's when she looked over and she slightly looked over and she's like, damn it.
Her eyes were shut.
Yeah. Jamie never complained when her eyes shut. He was like, let's just do this. So man up, Frank.
Yeah. I mean, I think she was definitely
self-pleasuring.
Dealing with herself. I didn't think she was dreaming. I think it was anyway, that was my impression. It could be that she was waking up from a dream about him. Either way, she's doing herself.
Right. It was some good memories. Some really good memories.
Yeah. And that sparked her need to get back on the saddle, so to speak.
Yes.
Even though her only saddle is Frank's.
But I still think it's funny that, like, okay, I don't want to have sex with you without thinking about Jamie. You don't want me to have sex with you while I'm thinking about Jamie. So now let's get 2 twin beds and put them 5 inches apart.
Wow.
What?
Like 1950s couple from a sitcom.
I mean, was that really? I always thought the twin bed thing was a trope for TV, like for FCC guidelines, like
Yeah.
so that like Lucy and Ricky weren't
Mhm.
wasn't lewd or whatever. I thought that that wasn't real.
No,
I
it
didn't
was
think
like,
that was a real thing that people ever did.
no, I thought it was, FCC guidelines. Like you couldn't say the word pregnant. That's where the word like expecting, like she's expecting, but you couldn't say the word pregnant. You couldn't show a man and a woman in bed together. If they kissed, it had to be a certain amount of time when they kissed and where the hands were placed.
Like we all have grandparents and stuff. Like I've never been to a relative's house, an older relative, grandparent, and uncle that have had twin beds.
No.
Right. And it's not like, I mean, I wasn't around, I went to my grandparents' house, all that lived there for a while.
Right.
And they had a double bed, and it wasn't like there were old sheets in the closet where their old twin beds used to be. Like that's the bed they had for like 60 years.
Yeah.
And so it seems like that's not a real thing that happened. And so it's kind of a good reveal. Like it was this kind of like cool thing, but it
wasn't realistic.
Wasn't based in any kind of reality that.
In fact, I would have expected more of, if you're going to do that, have Frank sleep in another room, like, and have Claire sleep in it, like almost like they're co-parents.
Like they should have been saying goodnight in the hallway and then going into separate rooms.
Yeah.
I mean, I loved the visual. I thought it was great how it played out.
Good.
Her saying goodnight and you not realizing they were in separate beds until it panned out. But sleeping in the same room with somebody is still kind of intimate. You got to listen to them. They're waking you up. I mean, it's the same exact thing, except you're not touching. And it's not based in reality. We all know it's not based in reality. So it's kind of dumb. But I think it is kind of a lazy storytelling choice, but it got the point across whether or not it was real.
It was definitely for the emphasis of you going, oh, they're no longer sleeping together. But I thought it would have been a lot stronger if they were like, good night, Frank. Good night, Claire. And like having that tender moment and then like splitting off and going into separate rooms and closing the door and not even looking at each other.
Yeah. I think closed doors would have done the same thing. Different rooms would have been.
And more realistic, because there have been people who have done that where they're like, we're going to stay together for the kid, but we're going to be housemates, not roommates.
Yeah.
Sometimes separate rooms save marriages. My parents, God love them, live in separate, they have separate rooms because my dad's a horrible snorer. And it's like, I'm either going to smother you in your sleep or I'm going to have my own bedroom.
Yeah.
I would love my own bedroom. That'd be fantastic. One day. Well, we need to talk about Jamie for a little while. We've spent so much time on Claire and Frank.
Dunbonnet.
We need to say something about the Dunbonnet.
Oh.
Because the Dunbonnet is just a way, it's so dumb. It's a way for Bree to figure out and put some, what's going on in my hair? Put some pieces together that allow her to figure out when Jamie might have been still alive and still around. It's a real legend. It's a real thing that happened. Obviously, it wasn't really Jamie Fraser. And this particular episode used the word and used the legend so on the nose that it became silly. Mm-hmm. The fact that those red coats are coming specifically for Red Jamie and the Dunbonnet at the same time, the fact that they've been there over and over again over the years looking for the same thing. The fact that there's this like skeezy Scottish corporal who's there, it was so on the nose, it made me feel like it was almost cartoonish. Mm-hmm.
They actually gave you a cartoon of it.
Yeah, they did. They did. And for me, even when he said, like when he was looking at the tapestry and it was sliced by the redcoats and he looks over at Mary, he goes, they're never going to stop until they find the Dunbonnet.
Yes.
I was like, and okay, Batman, knock it off. Like, well, for me too, it was so silly, so everything. First of all, there's the cartoon, the picture at the very beginning that, so clearly he's been spotted. They know what he looks like. And like I said, like Jamie is highly intelligent. He's gonna figure certain things out. I just, you know, if we had to say, okay, what was one thing they got wrong? Because no episode's going to be right. I think it was that notion. It was just, it got to the point where it was just so silly. And they perfectly described the Dunbonnet.
Yeah.
And there he is. Like, here I am shooting a deer, smelling the deer poop.
You know, and we've put a lot of emphasis on the wig and it being too big and it actually not covering his hair. And like, I get it. He's supposed to be feral and he's supposed to be like living out in the woods. And so the best way to show that is that for his hair to be super long and his beard to be real big and all of this stuff. That's fine. I mean, it doesn't make any sense because if he's covering his hair, it doesn't make sense. And I think I read something that said that they tried to like put a bunch of hair in his cap and it just didn't work and it didn't look right. Nobody liked the way it looked. And okay, you made a choice. It doesn't matter. It's fine. I actually think in general that that particular wig on him looked good. Even when he had the hat off, like I was fine with it. I don't think that it makes sense for the Dunbonnet to be a dude whose hair is so long that it's not being covered up. But I don't think that in general it looks bad for like a feral out wild man, you know, John the Baptist Jamie. I think that looked fine. I just don't think we didn't need to see Merida out in the woods, like with the arrow.
Well, Diana solves that problem of him cleaning up every time he comes down to the house in the middle of the night. So why they didn't choose to keep that portion of it, it would have made their life a lot easier.
Yeah.
Which would to shave every month.
Right. Which would also make sense of why they're targeting Lollybrock so much. And if you listen to it, it became daily life for them that Ian would be arrested. They would be questioned. They would be searching for him because Jamie goes to Lollybrock to clean up, to have a shave, to get his hair trimmed or whatever it is.
Yeah.
I understand. I'm not going to make comments because somebody was not happy with me for making a comment about his hair. So
fuck that. You say whatever
if you want, here it is. Here's the frizz. There. Now I got it too. There it is. The mushroom head right there. Anyway.
Humanity.
So, but like you guys said, it was just, it became almost like a caricature. And it's not supposed to be because Sam's acting was not like that for me because Sam's acting was on point, heartbroken, dead inside. And I just wish I didn't want that to. And by the way, Outlander, the title of the episode was Surrender, not Dunbonnet. But Outlander stars kept on promoting it as #Dunbonnet.
Well, it's the same thing that they did with the whole of season 2, where it was we had to change the future, 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 change the future. We were like, quit fucking saying a phrase that doesn't appear in the book ever in any way and is so infantile that you're making your audience feel like we're watching something that's meant for teenagers. Like we wouldn't be able to, like we're watching Rain. We're not stupid.
Right.
We have, that's how this felt. And my biggest problem with that aspect of the way that they write things sometimes in this episode was not just the Dunbonnet, although I felt like that was overdone and overblown and too on the nose, but the Corporal or Colonel McGregor, the Scottish guy, the red coat trader, because I mean, could the actor have had a goofier shit-eaten grin? I mean, he was looking like some groove-faced motherfucker. I could not handle how cartoonish his face was. Nobody is that skeezy. He literally looked like Gru from the Minions, and I've never even seen that goddamn movie. I was so irritated by this actor and by how tropey his character was, that he's this evil guy, all the other redcoats are more honorable than the one Scottish guy in the troop. And Fergus barely baits him and he just tracks him down and cuts his hand off for no reason. I mean, it was an insane, villainous trope that made no sense.
No.
It had a climax that also it didn't fit the crime. This guy did not have enough, he didn't have enough stakes in in what Fergus was doing for that to have been the punishment that he got. It was facile the way it was put out. And I was insulted that they put in something so tropey and so lame and expected us to buy it. It was so stupid.
For me, they make a lot of choices where they're keeping the general plot the same, but they make detailed choices to change the text, the canon, for no reason. I feel like how Diana wrote Fergus getting his hand cut off in the book. I gasped reading it in the book.
Yeah.
Like, that scene was perfect. Like, but they treat us sometimes like we're dumb, which is why the whole Dunbonnet thing. I'm pretty sure. I mean, I've only seen episode 1 and 2, but I'm sure coming up, Bree will find the Dunbonnet, and so to make sure that we, the viewer, know who the Dunbonnet is and why that's important, so they don't have to explain it in a further episode, they kind of Dunbonneted us to death. But like, why they have to make these changes to get us to the place that we're going, and when scenes were already kind of perfect as they were in the book.
Right.
And I'm not one of these people that says don't make changes because of the book, but.
Well, one of the changes that I loved is Mary McNab isn't actually not in the scene where they, the Redcoats are questioning Jenny, and she says, "I shot the pistol." They actually, that was complete. I checked. I made sure to check. They made that up, and that was perfect. But the scene where Fergus loses his hands is even, compared to what they showed us, that was even perfect. Or, excuse me, the book scene, because it's Jamie literally looking out the cave because they are right there, and Fergus is trying to distract them. What it also made it look like was Fergus was just being a spoiled brat, was being immature. And that is, in the book, Fergus was not being immature. He recognized that they were coming right towards that cave, and he reacted quickly.
Yeah.
And he made a sacrifice. In this case, I was like, you're taunting them. You're being a brat. The guy's being a dick. And by the way, there was that one soldier who said, "What are you doing? Don't do that." And the guy still cut off his hand. And then they leave the hand behind, which I'm like, ew.
I mean, they leave him there to die. The whole thing is
it added a layer of menace that we didn't need.
Exactly.
Because in the book, it's more of a bad accident, right? The guy, I don't think, means to cut his hand off in the book.
Yeah, I don't think so either.
It was an accident, but he was literally, from what I've read, Fergus was outside the cave.
Yeah.
And Jamie was just leaning over and looking at it from above, and he saw them do it, and then they ran away because they were nervous.
Yeah.
They didn't realize they were so shocked about what they did.
But they created this cartoonish bad guy who's way overdrawn and too broad and has a menace about him that doesn't fit the time. It doesn't fit and it's too much. And at the same time, it's like they're having to draw their characters for a Disney movie. And so they give this guy a really bad looking face and make him make evil looks at Fergus, who gives him a look back, and then he gives him a look back, and then he gives him a look back. And then Mary and Jenny tell us exactly why this guy's a bad guy. Like, they tell us he's a Scot who joined the Redcoats, and what they don't know is that the Redcoats hate him more than they hate us. And you just want to scream, please stop treating your viewers like they're children.
Right.
And we're not children. And and every time you do that, we see it, we feel it, and people who love the show and think it does no wrong, like, they can push it away and be like, that was such a beautiful scene, and that was so well. They can push away that. The rest of us are left with like, that was stupid. Even if we don't want to express that to them, you still feel it. And so I wish they would just stop making these broad stroke choices that are just. And that's where
we sometimes look at it and say, just stick with the original. Like, there was nothing wrong with what she had written. There was nothing wrong. I understand there are going to be, because there are certain moments when Diana would go off and off and off, and you're like, oh, that doesn't need to be in the book or in the show, and that doesn't need to be in the show. And It's funny what the producers and the writers decide what should be in the show and what should be out and what should be changed. Because sometimes I'm like, you didn't have to mess with it. It was already pretty good as is, and visually you could see it. Yeah. And instead we get caricatures rather than characters. And yeah, we didn't need to know about the red coat. I mean, what was the point of that other than, well, there were some Scots who were not for the Stuarts. All right. But you know what? Culloden is done. So we didn't really need to know that. We just need to know that the redcoats come to Lollybroch and search for Red Jamie all the time. Yeah. Instead,
and they needed to be more menacing. I mean, we didn't see them ransacking their house. We didn't see them like, taking chickens or running out. They weren't doing any pillaging. They weren't really doing anything. And maybe historically, like, they wouldn't have done that, but it seems like they had in the past. And so there really wasn't a whole lot of menace other than them just like posturing in their courtyard. And that doesn't really feel like that big of a deal because Jenny's like such a bitch. So it didn't really ever feel menacing. It never really felt like Jamie was in danger of being found. Why wasn't there any kind of like forest chase where he could tell that they were kind of near him and on his trail? I mean, why wasn't that part of what was happening? And everything just felt very, we've got to give to them what's going on. We've got to give to them what's going on instead of just showing us something that was dramatic. And when they do episodes like that, that's why they don't win Emmys, y'all. It's because it doesn't hold the pace. It doesn't hold the dramatic tension from episode to episode a lot of the times, or even from scene to scene. You can have this great scene where Sam Heughan is acting his fucking heart out, and then he has to do something incredibly lame. And that's just the fault of how they break those stories. I don't even think it's the fault of the writer of each particular episode. I feel like it's how they break the stories and how the showrunners, specifically Matt and Ron, put the way things are broken together.
Yeah, I agree. I feel like we need to move on to somebody who we all really, if we can't be Claire, we want to be this woman. Can we talk about Mary McNab and just...
Sure.
I adored this woman just because she is, like I said, we're not Claire. Let's all face it. We're never going to be Claire.
We're going to Claire, but go ahead.
We are, I loved, here we had Frank in the sex scene and he's like, no, look at me. And we have Mary McNab. It's like, you can look at me if you want. And he's like, I'm sorry, it's just something I'm doing. She's like, that's okay. Let me wipe away your tear and let you touch my boob.
Wait, go back to that scene because she says, you can look at me if I want.
If you want.
And he says, I'm sorry, it's just something I always do. Is he saying
he closes his eyes during sex?
He's closing his eyes? Like he's closing his eyes because that's what he always does? Is he apologizing for not looking at her? Or is he... I have no idea what was going on in that. Like, I have no idea.
I think that's... And I had to watch... Like I said, I had to watch that a couple of times. So from what my takeaway was, he said, I'm sorry, it's just something I do or I always do. I think it was just his way of just saying, I'm sorry, I'm just going to close my eyes. I'm not going to look at you. And I think that was just, and that needed to be explained a little bit more. I think he just should have said, I'm sorry, I can't look at you. I don't know, maybe I'd be okay with that if Jamie had said that. And she'd just be a little more understanding than Frank. But I did love the fact that she wiped when he had that one single tear, and Sam Heughan crying is now my favorite Sam Heughan of all time. Like, I love him.
He was great in that scene.
Oh God, that one tear, and she just went and she touched it. I was like,
when you read it in the book, because Mary says this in the show, she says you don't have to feel like it's a betrayal of your lady. And when you read it in the book, at least when I did the first time, I felt like it was kind of a betrayal of Claire. I don't know if that's because you're reading Jamie's point of view and he feels like he's betraying Claire. But I remember feeling like, don't have sex with gross Mary McNab.
Saggy titties.
Wow. Yeah, like that's disgusting. How dare you?
Team saggy titties like complains to us. I have saggy titties, so I'm allowed to say that.
She doesn't. They're great, but like
in the book, doesn't she have like floppy boobs, or am I just projecting?
I don't remember, but
I don't remember the floppy boobs.
I remember being like, no, you don't need to do that. And Sam gave it this reticence that hits you in like
Oh.
the right kind of grief bone, and you're like, yes, do it. You need it. Like you need it. Like please do it. And that's a change from the book that's fully down to his performance, I think, and not down to how things were written, because I was ready for that to be something that he needed. Whereas when I'm reading in the book, I'm like, oh, gross. No, you can live without it. Like you got a hand. It's fine. Like don't like just let it go.
Well, also in the book too, it's emphasis. She actually says, if you don't, I had the opportunity of watching this episode with somebody who hadn't read the books, and she didn't know Mary McNab, the connection between Jamie and Mary McNab. In the books, she makes that connection. You and I both lost something. Yeah, you lost the husband who turned Jamie in to the Redcoats earlier, and then he got raped. So for me right there, I'd have been like, hey, thanks for reminding me. No, we're good. Yeah. We're good. So I was happy that they stayed away from mentioning the connection of Mary McNab to the rest of the family. And she just said, I want to give you something that will make you feel whole again. And obviously that was in connection to when Ian said, Claire was your heart. You're missing something. Not that Mary would ever replace the heart, but she's like, you're going to go to jail for a while, buddy. Let me give you this. Let me give you the gift of my lady bits.
That you can see fully well in this cave, because we have more candles in here than
I'm telling you.
Cathedral.
It's like
it was like, oh, is that from Restoration Hardware? Like all of it looked like their catalog to me, because that is exactly what their catalog looks like.
In terms of set design, to me the cave in the books is so much more desolate.
Yes.
In an area that's very barren.
Yeah.
It seems like we were already on Fraser's Ridge with like the lush green. I mean, I know nothing about the Scottish Highlands other than what I've read in books and seen in pictures. I've never been there, but I just never pictured it to be this lush green land. And I feel like where the setting of it was added to his desperation and his need to want to be turned in. He was in this teeny cramped cave that was freezing in this kind of barren highland land.
Yeah.
And to me, he's like in a restoration catalog.
He had like chairs. He had chairs and tables and a cot in there. I was like,
he had his own little hobbit hole.
I was like, how is anyone not seeing him carrying in a chair into this cave? Like the Redcoats are like, who's that guy? What's he doing with that chair?
Well, that's who turned him in. That's who gave the description. This on the wanted poster. The UPS driver.
Yeah.
His furniture.
Did you guys notice how, like, when I'm reading the book, I'm thinking that Jamie can't even stand up in the cave. Like it's a cave that he's like crawl into.
Yeah.
And he's like squatting in it. But did you notice when they're standing there how gigantic he looks in comparison to the actress that's playing Mary?
Yeah, I did.
Sam looks huge in that scene. He never looks that big with Katrina. And I was like, holy shit, if they'd just gotten a shorter actress for Claire, we would all be like, Sam Heughan is boss gigantic. Because he was huge big compared to Mary McNab.
He was big. He was big. And we have all stood near Sam Heughan. I am the shortest of the three of us.
You are.
Oops. It's no, that's what you get. No. But I am, and he is. When you are 5'4", he is massive. You're just like, okay. So yes.
I don't think he's that big.
Well, I'm 5'4". Come on. Like people who are 5'8", I consider to be like, wow, you're super tall. So as somebody who's like Hobbit size of me, which is just the average size of a woman in America. Thank you.
I know, that's what I'm saying. I think that it almost does a disservice that Katrina ended up being this tall, willowy model, because had she been like a short, regular person, Sam would look like the big Jamie we expect him to look like.
Yeah, and he looked like the big Jamie.
He really did.
At least she can act. You know, let's take
yes.
Yeah,
we're happy with that. And I'm not complaining about Katrina.
No, not at all. And I'm going to mention a tweet earlier from Heidi, which was, it took for the Dunbonnet with the hair, it took Mary McNab approximately 5 minutes to shave down Jamie. She could have given him a haircut. So
yes, it makes that's why it's dumb. It makes much more sense for Jamie to have a bald head.
yeah.
All those years, and he could have looked just as wild, like with no hair. And then Sam could have had like short hair for a long time.
And keep in mind, young Jamie, when they showed young Jamie had short hair too. So this isn't a haircut that is a stranger to them. So they could have cut his hair and made it look crazy. Really look.
Yeah. I need to discuss somebody else real quick because Jenny gives birth to wee Ian in this episode, which is sweet. And then Jamie is looking down at him while he's holding him. He has this Jacob Renesmee moment where he just kind of imprints on wee Ian, who then becomes his favorite or whatever, which was kind of sweet. But I thought that it was so dumb. Again, weird storytelling. In the book, doesn't he hide in a cabinet? Or a wardrobe?
Yeah, it's cramped.
In this one, he just turns around and goes and hides behind a door. Of course, they're going to look in every room. And B, it's his childhood home. Wouldn't he know the best place to run and hide to really quickly? And he picks just behind the door right there. It was dumb.
Well, also the baby in the book. And this is one of those moments, once again, we're going back to the Fergus getting his hand cut scene. It was a very tense moment in the book.
Yes.
And the baby starts to
his thumb in his mouth. Or
he puts his thumb in the baby's mouth because he realizes, oh my God, the baby is starting to cry. She's telling, and young Jamie comes running in because he hears. That's what kind of breaks up the scene a little bit, is because young Jamie hears his mother say the baby's dead, and young Jamie comes in and he's yelling and kicking at the red coat.
Yes.
And that's where I look at it and just say, just look at the books. Once again, I understand there's certain things that have to be changed. That was great that you had Mary McNab come in and save the day.
It was also dumb to miss out on the tension of having Jamie wonder whether or not they're going to find him because the baby is fussing.
Yes, and that baby was supposed to be fussing, and that's when everyone's kind of turning and hearing. Instead, you have whatever his name is, Groot. I don't know what the other guy's name is. Turn around and thinks that I think there's a noise back there. I won't look.
It's so dumb. And then when Jamie does come back into the room with Jenny after they're gone, she's like, give me the baby, and she starts feeding it right away. And I'm like, there was no worry about whether or not the baby was ever going to start crying out because it wanted to eat. We didn't hear any of that. That didn't happen. Why are you all of a sudden worried about it? It was so dumb. Guys, just keep the tension flowing. There is tension in all of these moments, and it's just not there.
And that scene ends in the book with Jamie just looking at his sister saying, I don't think I'm going to come back for a while.
Yeah.
It's way too dangerous to be here.
Yeah.
And nope. And that's why I was like, okay, you can clearly see that they are never going to stop, but you didn't need to say it. They're never going to stop until they get the Dunbonnet.
Yeah. Oh God. Oh Lord Jesus. And sideline, let me just say, Jenny is fucking gross. Okay. Everything that comes out of Jenny's mouth makes me I hate her more and more and more. Who gives birth to a baby and just chills in the bed? You're not just sitting there not bleeding. She should have been she just had that baby. She should have still been on the floor, giving some afterbirth, taking care of what's going on. But she's all serenely in this bed, and he comes in and she's like, yeah, here's the baby. So when's the last time you laid with a woman?
Thank you.
Is wrong with this woman? It is not your business. He hasn't lain with a woman. That's the case because everybody within a 6-mile radius, and he's been in hiding for 6 years. Why would you even say that?
And then she says to him about Mary McNab,
yes,
Mary's single, go over there and lay with her.
She's got an available snatch. Just go for that.
She's got a vagina.
It's disgusting.
Hasn't she smelled her own brother? Why would you subject poor Mary McNab to that?
Oh, please. And then she's she just pops the boob out in front of him, no big deal. He hasn't lain with a woman in 6 years at least, and you're nipple's not going to bother him. It's going to be totally fine for him to see a familial nipple. I hate Jenny.
Well, and that's why I didn't like the part where in in the show where he comes back. He's got the deer over him, and he looks over. Now, keep in mind, this is a guy who has been to the house multiple times. He looks over and he sees Claire, and who's really Claire? His sister.
Yeah,
dead ass. He sees that juicy butt.
No.
Jenny is the worst. She's the grossest. She says gross shit. She has gross ideas. She's going to get grosser as the season goes along. And I would like for her to go away.
Yeah.
And I also wonder if Jenny is the most like Diana.
Probably.
I would hate to be at a bridal shower with Diana, like when she's playing a game, like smell the diaper, and she just looks over at the pregnant woman and says, "When's the last time your husband's had sex with you, pregnant?" It's amazing.
Oh,
You're like, oh, Diana, this is why we don't invite you.
It's all about husbandry, they call it. Isn't that what animals doing it?
Yes.
Doing it well.
Yes.
I could do without Jenny. I don't understand why Jamie doesn't tell her, "You're too familiar." Like, that is gross.
Yeah.
Doesn't he say that to her in the books at one point? Like, Janet.
Well, he flat out tells her to stop in the show. He's like, "Knock it off, Janet." And she's like, "No, I'm not. You're in my house. You signed it over to me."
And then here comes Peg Leg Ian with his bad wig.
See, somebody just said to us that Jenny's reaction grabbing the baby back was all about a release of tension. Shelley was saying this. And I know, but there wasn't any tension. Like, she's grabbing the baby back, but that wasn't there. Anyway, I feel like we've talked about it to death. But we do need to discuss one thing that happened this week, which was article in the Hollywood Reporter with some spoilers for next week. So if you haven't read that and you don't want to be spoiled, you know, we're about to talk about what they talk about in this thing. We're not spoiling it. Ron Moore spoiled it, but we are going to discuss it. So if you haven't read that article, you know, the people talking about it, you might want to not listen anymore. Just put it on mute for a little bit. But Ron goes into something that happens in episode 3 that is legitimately, it's a book change. And it's a good book change. It's a good thing that they changed from the book, but it would be the only time when they make changes like this that people who know the books and know them well are truly going to be able to, like, be surprised, whether that's a good surprise or a bad surprise. And he just talked about it in this episode, just willy-nilly, like very cavalier, mentioned it. And it's a big spoiler. And people are up in arms about them giving that away. And what do you guys think about that?
Well, as someone who's not seen, I think I'm the only one of you two who has not seen that episode. I read it today, the article, and I was legitimately pissed because I would have been totally shocked to see it on screen, and it would have been like, oh, a happy moment, you know, something that we as book readers want but don't get. And there's so few moments of true surprise that to spoil it like that was pissed me off.
Right. So I remember watching that episode with Nikki, and when we watched it, we literally went, "Whoa," because of of what is revealed. So it truly, and you're right, Amy, you said it. It's that sense of, for book readers, it was a pleasant surprise for us to have that moment. Playing devil's advocate for Ron Moore, we don't know if Hollywood Reporter, we're given a list of, please do not talk about these episodes at this date, at this time, wait until this date to do so. So I don't know if Ron Moore thought, well, if I mention this now, it will happen after this episode. So we don't know. I guess what I'm trying to say is, I'm not going to put entire blame on Ron Moore. I am going to look at the Hollywood Reporter and go, okay, what were you guys thinking? So I don't know. But I do say this. It was not a pleasant surprise to have that revealed immediately.
Yeah. And as far as the spoilers go, you know, if you get early screeners, they give you episodic spoilers that they don't want you to give away. Every episode it'll say, don't say anything about this and this and this, let that play out. And if you get a whole season ahead of time or half a season ahead of time, they'll say, don't spoil this. And from what I can remember, this was on the list of things not to talk about. But even so, the big spoiler that you weren't supposed to talk about this for the first half of the season is when the print shop happens, like when that episode is and what episode it happens in. And that's already been spoiled by Ron Moore. Like they've already said like when it's going to be and what episode it is. So it, what's the point in telling a bunch of, press outlets, what are their spoilers and what aren't their spoilers, and this is embargoed and this isn't embargoed when you're giving it away. So, I mean, potentially they're doing a ton of press, they're doing, a ton of stuff like that for season 3. And especially when it's print like that, it's kind of difficult to say, can I say something or can I not say something? When is this gonna be printed? Exactly. That's incumbent upon the press people to look at what is embargoed or what they're not supposed to talk about and not put that in there. But like I said, I don't remember if this was on there or not. But regardless, it's shitty that it's out there because there are so few moments where people get to not be spoiled. And at the same time, if you really, really hate spoilers and you really want to be, fresh for every episode, you really just have to. You don't get to read articles and you don't get to stay on Twitter. And when there's a big hullabaloo, you have to kind of turn your back and kind of like look away because if you don't want to know, it's hard, but that's how it works if you really want to stay unspoiled for things.
And it's even working different now because they release the episodes now at midnight Eastern time and 9 p.m. Pacific. So our sense of being spoiled is very much changing.
Yeah, I read, I had a couple of, I guess, prominent fandom people were tweeting out that people that were tweeting about the episode before the actual primetime airing were doing a disservice to everybody. And I wanted to scream, you cannot control people's excitement over seeing something. If there is a general idea, whether it's coming from stars or the production or if it's coming from fandom, that we all want to be tweeting and talking about it at the same time, then they should premiere it at one time for everyone. And that's how it should be. And it should be an event. Otherwise, it's stupid to assume that people are going to not talk about it, that they're not going to tweet about it. That's ridiculous. So don't expect that from people. That's not fair.
It's essentially attending a preview sale at Macy's. People are going to get excited. They're going to pick out what they want, and the next day they're going to go and get it. So I agree. I say you can't be angry at people for tweeting about the show when it premieres at 9:00. It's either stars premiere it at that time or expect or stay off your Twitter. In fact, stay off your Twitter for all of Sunday until 5 or whatever time it premieres.
People wait to watch Game of Thrones because HBO makes them. But people would be watching Game of Thrones the second that it's released. I would.
Absolutely.
I mean, as much as I love the idea of appointment television, I know how busy my life is. So if you give me something early and I can watch it when I want to, I'm going to do it. I don't give a shit about Barb in Kansas.
And there's nothing wrong with that. And there's nothing wrong with tweeting about it. Like, unless you're getting it before everybody. I mean, like, do you know how many times I've watched something on Outlander months before anybody else has seen it? And not only do I not say what anything is, I don't even say that I've seen it. I think the very, very first episode that ever premiered, like episode 101, when I got to see it was really, really early. And I wrote, I have seen the light. Like, I just wrote, I have seen the light. And then that's all I tweeted, and no one knew what I was talking about. I just had to say something about it, and that was all I said. But I mean, it's difficult to do. I wouldn't expect people that aren't, forbidden from doing that to do it. So I don't care if people tweet spoilers. What I care about is stars giving it that early. It's stupid.
Yes, I agree. I completely agree.
I think that the spoiler is not Ron's fault. I think I would consider it more Hollywood Reporter's fault for not doing their due diligence and not knowing that that's something that's not out there. And holding it back. But I also would have thought that they would have been a little bit more circumspect. But you know, they're doing a lot of press. I don't think that they really are thinking about it like that. And they've been close to it for a long time. I mean, I think even making that change is not something that they're still like thinking about is going to be a major reveal moment. I don't think that they're even thinking about it. It is, and it is a great moment. And unfortunately, it was spoiled for everybody. And I'm sorry. I'm sorry. It sucks.
It does.
So we need to pick somebody for a prize for tonight. Aaron Shaw, what's Aaron's handle?
Aaron's handle is an excellent question. Aaron is Ireland 82.
Okay.
So Aaron at Ireland 82. Congratulations.
Just DM us on Twitter or email Beth@thats-normal.com. Your name and your address and all that good stuff, and we'll get you something in the mail, something a little Outlander swaggy. Hopefully something better than the Destiny dice game, but that might be what you get because I'm not sure what else I have. I apologize.
Well, if she gets Destiny dice, then she has to then tweet us back pictures of her playing Destiny dice.
Yes, absolutely.
Anna tweeted us.
Photoshop blurred out. We don't want to see.
If you didn't know, Anna tweeted us the Destiny dice game, and my internet's being ridiculously slow, but here it is. Get ready. There it is. If you would like to purchase the Destiny dice game, that's what it looks like.
Yeah, but that doesn't tell me what it does. I have it. I have that picture. It's sitting over there. I have it, but I don't know what it does.
What it does is keeps you from having sex with your husband that night. Oh, wait, no, that's not a description.
But it is accurate.
For the lovers, when they have 2 twin beds, it helps you get.
You just play dice between the beds on the floor.
That's exactly what it is.
If you were to, if my husband were to say to me, I want to get separate beds, and then we both decide we're just going to get twinsies, bullshit. We can get 2 king size or even, right next to each other. I need flopsy room.
Yeah.
Well, my question is, if you get 2 twin beds, do you have to have like the same bedding? Like, do you get like the same
like a dorm room
sheets, the same colored sheets, the same comforter?
My sister and I did when we shared a room.
I mean, that's really that. I mean, I feel. Does Frank have any say in what his comforter looks like? And that's not sexual, but I'm just really wondering.
My husband wraps himself up in a quilt like a burrito. His own quilt. And he doesn't use the covers that are on the bed. And it's awful. I hate it. And I hate the quilt. And every morning when he leaves for work, he leaves the quilt in the middle of the bed close to me. And I just kick that fucker off onto the ground every morning. I hate it.
Can we talk really quick? I know we're over time, but about them kind of just beating us over the head with bad storytelling tropes, because it's fun to pile on. When Claire goes to Harvard.
Oh, yes.
Yes.
Every man that she runs into, every white male who isn't Frank that she's run into is a complete misogynist dick.
Yes.
Yes.
They exist. Like, I don't think that it would be, Ron wants us to think that Claire walking into that anatomy class is like Ruby Bridges going to school in Little Rock. And I call shenanigans on that.
Yes.
Yeah. It was ridiculous. I wrote down, did they just ask for extras that were white dudes who were skilled in shaking their heads and muttering? Because all of them were shaking their heads.
They went to Charlottesville and they said, you, and you put the tiki torches down. We need you to come over, and do you mind working alongside an African-American male? Don't worry, you get to sneer at him.
Yeah.
And they went, done.
Yeah.
It was so crazy because all of them were giving her the exact same look, and we saw it from 10 different dudes in 8 different angles, all giving her the same shake of the head, sneer. And I was like, this is overkill.
Yeah.
They took Corporal McGregor and just did the same thing with this overkill tropey crap. And it killed me. I don't understand.
that Claire just sits there and takes it instead of looking at the guy and saying, yeah, hey, where were you during World War II? Oh, want to know where I was? I was actually out there being a medic. You know, I just get that scene for me was, okay, we get it. Claire is a modern thinking woman in a very archaic time, but it was overkill.
More understand the fact that Claire doesn't have a real reaction to it than I understand the editing / writing choice of having 20 different guys make the same exact face in the same exact way at her and at Joe, in a way that just oversold that particular point. It was very lame.
It was very lame. Although I do like Joe Abernathy. For the few lines that he said, and all he said was, "Is anyone sitting here? Hi, I'm Joe Abernathy. Claire Randall. Pleasure to meet you. Pleasure to meet you." That was it. That was it. So people going, "He's perfect as Joe Abernathy." Hold, please, because he just said those 3 lines. But how he walked in, he sat down, and it was just, and there was this one guy who was like, right.
This is so dumb.
Did anybody else think of Forrest Gump during that scene? This ain't taken. This ain't taken.
Yes.
But they would have done it with a very different accent.
Right.
And I think one of those guys would have seen a beautiful woman and been like,
yeah, I thought the same thing. I thought surely some of them are going to look at her and be more
intrigued
like,
that
more sexist towards her, but not in a sneering way, but in a like, hey baby kind of way.
Like, and I got your seat right here. And he points to his crotch.
None of them even did that. It was so dumb. What a terrible choice. And I can't handle when things suck. That sucks. Other than that, good episode. Other than a few other things, it was fine. It was great.
It was. And we're off to Jamie in prison. So get ready, ladies, to get your hot convict on.
Next week, I cannot wait to see people's reaction to next week. I wish we were getting that reaction at 9 p.m. on Sunday night for everybody, but I am intrigued. I'm really excited about everybody watching next week. Next week's one of my favorite episodes of the season. So one of my favorite and least favorite. It's just really good. It's a good episode. So it'll be fun. So follow us on Twitter if you're not already. That's _normal. And then all of us have our Twitter handles up here. You can follow us as well because we're equally awesome, if not more awesome than the That's Normal Twitter. I would say more awesome. I would say all of us individually a little bit more awesome than That's Normal Twitter. Just follow us there. You'll like it. Nikki and Becca will never listen to this. They'll never hear that I said that. Also, follow us on Facebook and places like that.
Oh, and don't forget to go to hangoutlander.com because we have that website. So if you're ever wondering.
Yes, it's really just a redirect to our regular blog page that has all of the listings. But it does have listings and links to future episodes. So if you do click on that, it'll take you to where you can see us next week. Monday, same time, same place, YouTube. Guys, we will see you next week.
Bye,
Adios.
everyone.
Bye.
Bye.